Well, this has been a year that's been defined by Texas and Florida being at odds with just about everything happening on the federal level. Those two states in particular filed numerous lawsuits against the federal government and the Biden administration this year. Texas lawmakers have now even decided to take it upon themselves to finish the job that they feel the federal government left undone, namely building the border wall. This morning, Texas Lieutenant Governor candidate and the president of the Texas Nationalist Movement, Daniel Miller, joins us to talk about why Texas appears to always be at odds with the federal government and if the current political situation is adding fuel to talks about Texas leaving the Union. Daniel, good morning, my friend. Always good to see you.
Hey, good morning and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. So let's talk about that. Why do you think Texas is at such great odds with the federal government?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, the federal government is wrong more often than not. They take a one-size-fits-none approach. And, as we talked about, with the organization, I spent a lot of time going around the state right after the election and kept reminding people, you have to remember that you got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who literally spent a year and a half ahead of the election going around promising policies that were going to punitively punish Texas. I mean, they had Texas in their crosshairs. And so it is absolutely no shock whatsoever that with the Democrats, with the reins of power in Washington, D.C., and a Washington, D.C. that has grown well out of its constitutional box, that they are taking every opportunity to punish Texas across an entire range of issues that, frankly, further an ideology that is about as un-Texan as you could possibly get.
And Daniel, you're a candidate for lieutenant governor there in Texas. What are some of your top priorities should you be elected?
Yeah, it's interesting that we started talking about federal overreach because, one of the things that drove so many Texans to call on me to run for lieutenant governor, deal with the fact that we have weak leadership in Texas. The press tour that the current lieutenant governor is going on, the current governor is going on, related to the border ignores the fact that the entire time that they have been in office, they've done absolutely nothing from the Texas standpoint to secure the border. And frankly, the cost can be paid in lives. We've got a lieutenant governor currently who in 2014, when he ran for lieutenant governor, promised to secure the border, something that is within the power of the Texas legislature and the Texas governor to do. And today, at the end of 2021, we find the border in a much larger crisis than it has ever been. We've got our counties are overrun. We've got major national security issues, public safety issues, public health issues, and they have failed to act. So ultimately, as lieutenant governor, it is going to be about securing the border, abolishing the onerous and immoral property tax, and absolutely pushing back against the federal government. And that means invoking the rights of the people of Texas under Article 1, Section 2, and giving Texans a vote on TEXIT.
Daniel, really quickly, put on your Texas Nationalist Movement hat real quickly, and let's talk about the fact that Texas is at such great odds with the feds, that there are so many people in Texas who just want to leave the union altogether. Do you think that all of this is adding fuel to that fire?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people all the time that if you want to understand why people are jumping on board with the idea of TEXIT, all you have to do is turn on the news, right? The federal government makes the case for us every single solitary day. We know that the growth of support for TEXIT has grown such that if a referendum were held tomorrow, it would win, and not by a little, but by a lot. And so with the federal government's actions and its overreach, more and more Texans are asking themselves the question that if Texas were currently an independent nation, would they even vote to join the union? We even had Congressman Chip Roy essentially ask that very same question on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. More recently, we had Ted Cruz make a comment at an event at Texas A&M, essentially saying that if the federal government continued to step beyond and effectively destroy a constitutional Republican form of government, that he was all in. So, there's no doubt that the federal government is definitely fueling it. But beyond the grievance aspect of it, Texans understand that as a self-governing independent nation, economically, we would be far better off. Constitutionally, we'd be far better off. And our freedoms would not be in danger every time we wake up every single morning.
Daniel Miller, we appreciate the time this morning. Merry Christmas to you and your family and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to you and your families as well.
Merry Christmas.